Hi, the following content is for educational purposes only and does not constitute medical advice. If you are a healthcare provider, please consult with your affiliated institution or local ethics committee for ethical guidance related to clinical practice.
Welcome to Module 5. David, take it away.
Okay, thanks. Today we're talking about another framework, but this one is very different than the other ones that we've talked about. This is a theory called casuistry, or a framework rather. It's not even a theory, a framework for ethical reasoning that's referred to as casuistry. Casuistry, casuistry. And casuistry is really a form of case-based reasoning. And you're used to thinking about this all the time. When you take, most of you have taken a physics class, a calculus class, or a chemistry class. And if you think about what your instructor does in that class, they don't spend their time, even in physics classes, giving you then just a general theory that you then have to go out and, here's the theory, go out and apply it to new cases. Instead, what happens in class? What happens in class is that the instructor works problems on the board. They work examples over and over and over again. And then the trick becomes when you have a homework assignment or you have an exam, the trick becomes seeing whether a new problem that you've been given, you can see how a problem that you already saw solved and a problem that you already figured out how to deal with, how this new problem can be seen as like that problem that you already knew how to handle so that you can now solve this new case. That is casuistry. That is case-based reasoning. Going from the particular case at hand, thinking about it to try and identify new cases that you already know how to handle and make it like that. Okay, so that's the approach. This is very much in contrast to the theories that we've talked and frameworks that we've talked about up until now. So Russ, I'm going to ask you to make a diagram. So
I'm very excited about this. Okay, let's make a diagram.
Okay, so the way utilitarianism or deontological theory or even principlism work, they start with a basic theory. So their starting point is the theory. And then you have a particular set of facts or a case that you have to deal with. And then you basically take the theory, apply it to the case, and from that derive the conclusion for what you're supposed to do. So utilitarianism says maximize utility. You're facing a particular decision that you have to make, a particular set of facts, and then you look and see whether or not it maximizes utility, and then if it does, then that's what you're supposed to do. Casuists say this is not, in fact, how people engage in practical reasoning. We've already seen that it's not, we've already seen that that's not how people engage in reasoning when it comes to your calculus classes or your physics classes. It's also not how people reason in medicine, which is fundamentally a casuistical exercise in which you're engaged in a process of practical reasoning, thinking about how to look at the particular patient in front of you and how they're like other patients. And at a fundamental level, for casuists, moral reasoning is itself a practical activity, a form of practical reasoning. So
are we going to draw another diagram?
I'll draw another diagram.
All right, I love it.
So the starting point for casuistry, rather than starting with theory, the starting point for casuistry is the particular facts or case. And I think you probably want that over to the left, not there.
Oh, wait a minute. That's great because I have a feature I'm very excited about using.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Oh, thank you. And I want to thank everybody who made that.
Maybe a little lower, a little lower.
A little lower. There?
Yeah, it's perfect.
All right.
Okay.
Continue.
Okay, so you've
Can I put a box here?
Yeah, yes. So you're starting with the particular facts of the case, and then from that facts of the case, you try and figure out a precedent, an exemplar, a paradigm case of how you're supposed to handle cases like that. Just like in your homework, I've got a new problem that I'm supposed to solve. Let me think about the problems that I saw the professor work out in class to see if I can find one that's applicable. And then you use that to figure out what to do about to solve the particular situation at hand. But one thing that's important to note, that decision is only provisional. It's a provisional decision. The reason why it's provisional, I don't know if any of you have ever experienced this, but I started off as a physics major and I definitely experienced this. I did not, in fact, always get a perfect score on every exam and every homework assignment. And this is because even though I applied this form of practical reasoning, sometimes I was wrong about the paradigm case, and there were exceptions or reasons why it really didn't fit very well. So part of the thing that you need to do is think of exceptional circumstances or rebuttals or differences between the case at hand and the solution that you think works relative to the paradigm, to see if it really is the right solution for the problem that you've got at hand. And that is practical reasoning in a nutshell.
And then you kind of turn it in, after you consider these exceptions, that kind of turns it into a final decision.
Correct.
Which I'm just going to put here as a final, confident decision.
Perfect. Now, there are some problems and objections to casuistry as well. What do you do if there's no precedent, right? So it takes a lot to do that. What if past precedent was wrong? It's a fundamentally conservative approach in that it builds. So its advantages, it builds on knowledge. It builds on things that we already knew how to do. But if we were wrong about all of it, then, and we've been doing things in the wrong way, then it may not be the best way to figure that out.
So David, just to state the obvious, this is clearly how the US legal system works.
Yeah, well, a legal system is in an interesting balance between top-down and casuistical reasoning. Reasoning from cases, so case law, and all the reasoning from case law, which is probably the dominant thing in the law, right, is casuistical in character. Right. But statutory law, and the idea that you could apply statutory law in a straightforward fashion, that would be something that would be more top-down reasoning of the theoretical side.
Right. And if the precedents were wrong, that's the kind of thing like going to an appeals court or to the Supreme Court, where they have to change the precedent structure because they feel, in retrospect, we got this wrong.
But given the tremendous weight of precedent,
right,
it's hard to combat that. The judicial system solves that problem by the fact that, you know, there's a joke. What do you call somebody who doesn't know the law? A judge. And so the fact that judges sometimes tend to not always give as much deference to past precedent as they could. So the more you weight past precedent, the less you're able to figure out new things. And so that's one of the downsides to casuistry. In addition, it's not clear what role theory or principles have to play. And yet when you actually look at, so let's stick with the law as an example. There's a very famous paradigm case exemplar for how to think about confidentiality called the Tarasov case, which was a lawsuit. But if you actually look at the California Supreme Court judges' reasoning in that case, it's mostly utilitarian reasoning, a little bit of deontological reasoning, and a little bit of casuistry where they reference other past precedents. And a lot of times these things sort of get mushed together in the way that people think about it. Okay, so why don't we stop there?
We can stop there and call this the end of Module 5.
Sounds good.